welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com. Happy New Year's from our friends over at Manscaped. The ball has officially dropped, but that does not mean that you have to drop the ball on your balls. It's time you bring sexy back in 2022 and step your game up with Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to help them ring in the new year with the right tools for the job. Just go to manscaped.com and use the code ALLSTEELERS for 20% off plus free shipping. It's a new year, new you, and a new you means no pubes. Derek, Valentine's Day come and gone. Package still doing well. How are you enjoying your Manscaped?
Perfect, dude. Perfect. Valentine's Day was a success over at my household.
Yeah, word. Love it. Do you include your kid when you?
We did. We got her some. Well, I say we. My wife went and got her some stuff. We got her a little basket with a toy. So I mean, I guess she had a good Valentine's Day too. She got some gifts out of it, so she wasn't complaining.
Nice. I love it. My mom still sends me stuff for Valentine's Day, so I definitely appreciate that one. It's time to ramp up your exercise and grooming routine this year for maximum gains. A six-pack is a great New Year's resolution, but how about a six-pack for your balls? The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 contains 6 essential tools for the ultimate below-the-waist grooming routine. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Signature Lawn Mower 4.0. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate nuts. And it also comes equipped with a 4,000K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land 2022 looks to be. It's also time to freshen up down there in the new year. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorants on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? And for on-the-go freshness after you leave the gym, you'll love the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. Start the new year with a fresh set of testes thanks to Manscaped. Manscaped even threw in their shed travel bag to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. And speaking of comfort, the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs are also included and will bring your boys down south to the next level. Manscaped also wants you to go beyond the groin this year with their new refined cologne, which offers a light yet masculine pleasing fragrance. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code ALLSTEELERS at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code ALLSTEELERS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping and use the code ALLSTEELERS at manscaped.com. Have no regrets this year with our friends at Manscaped. Whew, I still get winded after that. I still don't, stamina is not building up whatsoever. I don't know if you watched yesterday's show, but I'm pretty positive that my mom was our 10th promo code user, and she let everybody know right on the show.
Hey, man, that's support, man. That's love and support.
Stop the whole show to let everybody know that she bought my brother some underwear. I love her. I can't say that I don't love her. It was nice. You want to know what I have not loved this week, Derek? Anything to do with a quarterback whatsoever. The week started, I felt real good. Put out a mock draft. It was the first time that I've really had a reaction to an article in a long time where people just didn't destroy me. It felt really good. I had smiles all day. People were like, "Oh, this one makes sense." I'm like, "Thanks, guys."
It's been a long off season.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, trust me. This is a good way to start because if it was bad to begin with, I'd just get hard and like a crust and it would be bad. Then 24 hours later or something, or 24 hours beforehand, Sam Howell's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at the number 10 overall pick. Now we're saying Malik Willis going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at the number 17 overall pick. Maybe Carson Wentz is on his way to the Steel City. We do not know, but it's a great time to talk about some quarterbacks. Let's start with Malik Willis. In Todd McShay's, I think it's the second mock draft, the Steelers trade their first, a third, and a late round pick to move up to 17, swap picks with the Los Angeles Chargers. They draft Malik Willis. Do you like the move?
I mean, if you're a believer in Willis being a franchise guy, I mean, that's a small price to pay. I'm still team no quarterback in the first, especially trading up. But, I mean, if you're convinced that, he's a game changer, you do it. I do think the Chargers could be a potential team that could look to move down, just because I feel like their needs are needs that they could slide down and accumulate like an extra pick. They need receiver help and they need defensive line help. So like Jordan Davis has been mocked to them a lot. I really like that fit for them because they couldn't stop anybody except the Steelers on the ground last year. So they could easily move back a couple spots, swap with us, and I think that's a good trade for both sides if you're, riding with Malik Willis as like the future of the franchise.
So is Malik Willis? Can Malik Willis be there? Will Malik Willis be there at 17, or do you think he's long gone?
I don't know, man. I mean, it really depends. Like, it's kind of funny. So I've been hopping in spaces just of different teams. Like I've been in some Falcon spaces, Panthers, a bunch of spaces over the past couple of weeks, and like, man, everybody is having the same reaction that we are really to the quarterback thing. Like all cooler heads are prevailing. Everybody's like, just wait on a quarterback. Don't take a quarterback. I was in a Carolina one the other day and they were talking about if they take a quarterback at 6, they're going to, or wherever they pick, they're going to freaking
3.
Ride. So he could
Carolina
be.
seemed heavy.
I don't know. I don't know. I think he could be there for sure though. I mean, it really just depends. Like we're going to see what Corral can really do in Indy coming off that injury. The combine will be a good spot for all the quarterbacks to get in front of, teams on the same stage again.
The Carolina Panthers were really, really into Kenny Pickett at the Senior Bowl. Like, I mean, like, I don't know about personnel. I don't know what anybody from the Carolina Panthers looks like, but their media were all over Kenny Pickett, all over Malik Willis, but really like all over Kenny Pickett at 3.
Well, Matt Rule recruited.
Oh,
Pickett,
true. I guess he recruited
Temple.
Yeah, true. True. So that would make sense.
That's kind of the link there that I think everybody's kind of drawn.
Yeah. Plus, I think we can all agree he's the most NFL ready guy, and the Panthers are just like, okay, we've tried this a couple of times. Yeah. It's not really working. What do you expect from Corral? What are we, 3 weeks away from the combine? Do you expect Corral to move himself into that top 3 conversation or push himself to 2?
I'm not convinced that he's not already there for some teams. I mean, I think it really just depends, like, what type of offense that you want to run. Corral's tape last year was like a 180 from his tape the year before. Like, he played more under control, and there was less variance in his game, but there was also, like, less exciting things, too. I felt like as the season went on, he wasn't as healthy, and, there's just – with Corral, he's going to give you a solid floor, like with his rushing ability. He's good in the quick game. Like he can do the RPO stuff. Where he really struggles is when you ask him to read the defense. Like he's not there. Mm-hmm. He's maybe I don't even know if he's further along than Willis. I don't really know because Kiffin made it so easy for him at Ole Miss. Like they literally just did half-field reads, a ton of RPOs, and there wasn't a lot of progressions to go through for him. So it'll be interesting to see like how NFL teams view that. But Corral's got a lightning quick release and a good arm. He's mobile. So, I mean, there's a lot to like too. I just think he's a little bit more of a project too. Does that fit into Matt Canada's offense? I seem to not know what Matt Canada's offense is apparently because yesterday it's this Smith that Steelers fans have like convinced themselves of.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody tells me that I'm wrong. They're like, that's not what Matt Canada's. I'm like, do you know what Matt Canada's offense is? Have you seen it?
I mean, I think it could. I mean, if you're gonna stick, I mean, they Steelers ran a ton of RPOs last year with Ben. I mean, Corral can do that stuff.
Yeah, but Randy Fichtner ran a bunch of RPOs with Ben too. Yeah. I don't know if that was Matt Canada.
I mean, they can do the RPO stuff with him. Like I said, he gives you a little bit of a floor with his rushing ability. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see like what he's able to do. Like if he's able to do anything, how his interviews go, who he meets with. I'm feeling very confident that the Steelers will meet with him at the combine. I mean, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Definitely for sure. What do you think? What could he not do? Like, is he going to run? Chances are he's not going to run.
I would be surprised if he ran.
That's what I mean. Like, but does he need any of that? Does he need any of the real testing? Or is it just all about showing like, hey, guys, you just forgot about me at the Senior Bowl?
It would be good to see him throw. I mean, the quarterback stuff, like, I mean, the testing for the quarterbacks is going to be really funny, and it always is because, like, a lot of guys, quarterback wise, like they're boring testers. But like this class does have a couple that are going to test like freaky. Willis being one of them. Another guy that I think people are kind of sleeping on his athleticism a little bit is Ritter. Like I think Ritter's going to like both of those guys were on that Feldman's Freaks list from The Athletic. It's an excellent article. But, Willis is projected running like a 4.5 40, and he has like a 37.5-inch vert, which is crazy. Ritter, he's supposed to run like, I think mid 4.5s, and he has like a 36-inch vert. Like, so they're both like really, really athletic testers. So that's going to be fun if they actually test together at the combine. It wouldn't surprise me if they, waited until the pro day, but.
Yeah. Is it their pro day? Didn't you put out a list of pro days that were at the same day?
They moved them. They finally they had all of those. So originally they had the Ole Miss, Liberty, and what other pro day? Another pro day all on the same day, with Pittsburgh's right before that, the day before. But they spread them out now, so they're all on different days.
Okay, cool. I don't know who makes those, but when I saw that, I was like, that's
just a poor decision.
That's a disaster. Mike Tomlin can. He's get one person. Kevin Colbert's two. You'd have a real good feeling. Like the quarterback that they drafted, I would immediately just put odds on that person, the scout that was at that school, to be the next GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We know about the Steelers like history of like first round draft picks. Like if Tomlin and Colbert are at somebody's pro day, they're on the list of first round pick possibilities. If they're not there, you ain't got to worry about them being picked in the first round. Now, could they pick a guy like Ritter in the second if they're not at his pro day? Maybe, but I still think that like their next quarterback of the franchise, like I really feel like they're going to both be there. Just because that's how they've operated, for a long time now. At positions a lot less important than, quarterback. So
I guess at this point we have no read, just as much of a read as we had a week ago. Do you think that if the Steelers don't draft a quarterback in the first round, that they just avoid them completely in the draft?
I kind of hope so. But I would be okay with rolling with like a free agent anyway. But yeah, I think Ritter's still got a potential to be there in the second round. I know that a lot of people like the fit with the Falcons, obviously not at 8, but in the beginning of the second round. So that would put him out of Pittsburgh's reach. But
what about Howell? Is Howell there? I had Howell in the second round, going to the Steelers in the second round.
I think it seems like Howell's value is somewhere around there too, like top 50-ish, but maybe not in the first round. But, I don't know. We talked about it on last week's podcast. They've been to see Howell multiple times. Culver went and saw him practice earlier this year. They've been to multiple games. They went to the Pitt Carolina game. They've seen him multiple times. They're very familiar with him. They met with him at the Senior Bowl.
Yep, they love him. They love Sam Howell. Apparently, they love somebody else, somebody that I'm not really excited to tell you about, but we got to talk about it. This is 3 days now, 2 days, 2.5 days that I've talked about Carson Wentz. I did not expect to talk about Carson Wentz at all this offseason. The name didn't even come to mind. I don't know why. Carson Wentz, according to CBS Sports, is a favorite to land with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He'd carry over a $28 million cap hit in 2022, but after that, no guaranteed money. The Colts are looking for a new veteran quarterback, apparently. They've had enough of Carson Wentz after one season. What is there even to ask? How do you like it? How do you dislike it?
I need to look at Carson's contract, but I will 100% say that Carson Wentz is not good. And that's my evaluation of that. He's an absolute disaster mechanically. You saw him fall apart at the end of the season last year with Indy. It's hard to project Carson having like a bounce back with the Steelers when you have a play caller like Frank Wright, who is one of the best in the business, and then you have a great supporting cast. The receivers in Indianapolis aren't great, but Michael Pittman's really good. You have arguably the best running back in the game with Jonathan Taylor, a really good offensive line. That's a really good supporting cast, and he just fell apart, man. Like he didn't throw for he threw for 250 yards twice or something like that down the stretch of the last 3 months of the season. Like they were winning games when he was having to do very little and just throwing the ball for 120 yards. The Steelers aren't there to where they can do that.
No, I think the best example of this is people are like, well, he led the Colts to a 9-7 season. And I've seen people who are very optimistic. I was watching the Pat McAfee show yesterday, 2 days ago or something, and Tone Diggs was like, I love it. And I was just like, what do you love about this? Like, he couldn't win with Jonathan Taylor. You're going to grade that to Najee Harris. I get that that's not like, I love Najee Harris. I think he's a phenomenal back, much more of a disaster on the offensive line. Weapons wise, he's down to 2 plus a tight end. And the defense is definitely not as good as Indianapolis's defense.
As it was last year.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not as good as the Steelers defense last year, which was not as good as the Steelers defense the year before that. It's just, he's going to be walking into a situation where you can't even expect him to win. And you're going to pay $28 million.
The only thing I'll say about Wentz is, I mean, it's obvious that people still hold on to that, 13 game stretch or whatever in 2017 where he was really good. But after that, I mean, other than that, like really hasn't been all that impressive throughout his career, but he's still got the draft pedigree. The only thing I'll say is, like, if he is to get released, because I do think Indianapolis, I mean, their general manager has thrown like massive shade towards him, like almost every time he's done an interview, which is not like Chris Ballard. If they do somehow release him and just get out of his contract and eat the dead money, then throw him in the mix with the rest of the mediocre quarterback purgatory quarterbacks like Mariota and Andy Dalton. Like if you're talking about just bringing him in off the street, on a reasonable deal, then we're talking about something different. Because I mean, I have no expectations. Now, if you're talking about even trading like a 4th or 5th round pick and then having to pay him 28 or 20 plus million next year on the cap, count me all the way out on that, because I don't think that doesn't make the Steelers better in the short term or the long term.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. I looked at his trade for Indy last year, and they gave up like a 3rd and a conditional 2nd this year. And like, you can't give that up if you're the Steelers. I'd rather have Sam Howell in the 2nd round than go get Carson Wentz.
That 2nd turned into a 1st because he played so much. So that one of Philly's 3 first-round picks is from Indy, which they missed the playoffs. So I mean, you got a top 20 pick.
Bad.
It's bad. I think Ballard's a good GM, man. But I didn't understand that move at the time, and obviously it looks.
Well, it was his offensive coordinator that came over to Indy, so the tie was there. Obviously, Carson Wentz's contract is $28 million this year, and then $26 and $27 million the next 2 years, and then he's finally an unrestricted free agent in 2025. I don't even think. I mean, apparently they're one of 4 teams. They were listed as one of 4 teams on the CBS article. It was them, the Broncos, the Bucs, and Washington. And I mean, that's a very slim list, but I honestly think the Colts are going to be stuck with him. I think that there's no way the Pittsburgh Steelers would be the team that I would expect to go get him, because he's a quarterback that you don't have to give up a bunch for. And I don't expect them to go get him, because I just don't think that it benefits anything whatsoever. I'd have more faith, I'd have more faith in Mason Rudolph out there than.
Oh God.
Like I don't expect them to win, but at least you have the expectation that they're not going to win. With Carson Wentz, it's just like, we're trying to live this. He's a Joe Schobert. Carson Wentz is bringing in Joe Schobert and saying, this is the guy that's going to fix inside linebacker. This is the guy that's going to fix quarterback. And then 7-8 weeks in, Robert Spillane and Ulysses Gilbert III is starting at inside linebacker. Mason Rudolph's in there with Dwayne Haskins as his backup. And we're on a whole other disaster of a roller coaster ride. No, I'm good. We don't need to bag on Carson Wentz anymore. I think that, I've had enough of them in the last 2.5 days.
That about does it. You on Monday, I believe, dropped your wide receiver rankings for the 2022 NFL draft. A good list. I don't think it was one that shocked me much, I won't say, but I kind of expected everybody that you had there. In the eyes of the Steelers, when you look at this list, where does it start where their possibilities begin? Which, for those of you who do not know what the rankings are, you have Garrett Wilson, number 1, Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, number 2, Drake London, number 3, Chris Olave, 5. I missed one somewhere. Who's 4? London's 4, Jameson Williams.
Oh, Jameson Williams, missed Jameson Williams. Yeah. 5. Then Jonah Dotson out of Penn State at 6. 7 is George Pickens, which that one got me a little bit. Christian Watson at 8. I like that sleeper. I think that you woke me up to him, and I like him too much right now. John Mechie the third at 9, and then Sky Moore coming in at 10 out of Western Michigan. Where does the Pittsburgh Steelers line begin on your list of 10?
I think it's got to be probably around that 6 spot. Like, I think Chris Olave would be a really good fit for the Steelers, but I don't know that he makes it to 52. I think the Steelers could pick a receiver as early as the second round. Barring something crazy happening and Juju being retained, like, I think that that's kind of where the conversation starts on when they need to pick a receiver. And a guy like Jahan Dotson, to me, makes a little bit of sense. Like, I think, Dotson's a good separator who is a really polished route runner. He's got excellent hands. He plays way bigger than his size. He can play inside and outside, which is something, the Steelers could potentially use to their advantage, depending on what they want to do with Chase Claypool going forward. So I think it could start there. Christian Watson's another guy. I mean, his stock's so high right now. It seems like everybody's talking about him to where, like, I don't know if he's going to make it to 52. But
I had Watson 4th round in my draft on Tuesday, and by Friday I talked myself out of any possibility of that.
Yeah, I think he's going to struggle to get out of the second round. I don't know if he goes top 50, but I mean, 6'4", legit 4.4 speed, and can actually get in and out of his cuts like a smaller guy. It's really intriguing. There's a couple later guys too. I mean, I'm going to shout out my guy, Lorenz from Sports Illustrated's Draft Bible. He messaged me a couple months ago and told me about Sky Moore. He said Sky Moore just looks like a Steelers receiver because he's not like overly fast. He's going to end up running. There's a big debate among draft Twitter if he's fast or not. I don't think he's fast. I think he's like a 4.55 guy. Yeah. But he's always open. I mean, it's really incredible. Like, he is always running by guys, and guys are not within 2 feet of him. But I don't think he's like overly fast. But he's pretty quick, good route runner, really good with the ball in his hands. A guy that I really like, man, and it's absolutely sucks. It kills me that he's not bigger. Is Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky.
Yeah,
that guy,
how big is he?
He's literally 5'7". I mean, he's small, man. But he played in Nebraska for a couple years, and they were trying to use him like a little scat back. He goes to Kentucky, and they're still doing the things, to get the ball in his hands, the jet sweeps, the screens. But like, he actually showed that he can get down the field, like out of the slot. And I think he's good, man. I just wish he was a little bit bigger. So I think that's going to hurt his stock. Like, I think he's going to go maybe late day 2, really early day 3. But I think he's a player that, like, you can get him on the field early and, like, he can help you. He's probably not ever going to be more than, like, your 3rd receiver, but he can be a good weapon for you to get touches.
Somewhat of who's the guy that went to Arizona last year? Rondell Moore?
Yeah.
Remind you of Rondell Moore?
The only thing is Moore was like freakishly strong for his
true. He still is.
Yeah. And like Robinson's, he looked tiny, but honestly, I think I want to say Kentucky listed him at like 5'9". And then I was looking at a draft database that said he was 5'7". And then I started creeping around on Google, and I was like, that kind of looks right. So I don't know. We'll see. We're going to get a good look at, obviously, he's got a combine invite. He'll be in Indianapolis 2 weeks.
Can you tell me how tall I am if you just saw a Google image of me?
No, well, this is me doing research just among like people that would know more than I would. But no, I don't know how tall you are. How tall you think I am?
I would say you're 5'9".
Taller than Smitty?
Everybody's taller than Smitty. I would say 5'9".
I'm like 5'10" and a half, so close.
5'10". See, how tall would you think I am? Me and Derek have never met in person.
5'8". 5'9".
Oh, I am 5'8", 5'7", 5'8" on a good day.
Yeah,
I'm a little short though.
No way taller than Smitty.
Oh, my younger brother's like 6'2" now. I can't even use that anymore. My grandmother's taller than Smitty. Most people are taller than Smitty.
Let me. I do have one thing to say though, just because it's. We'll have one more show before the combine, but I think the receiver that has the most to gain in Indianapolis is George Pickens from Georgia. Like, former 5-star recruit, he played really well as a freshman on a really run heavy. I mean, Georgia's always run heavy. But I think he had like 700 or 800 receiving yards as a freshman, played really well. Him and Derek Stingley had a pretty good matchup their freshman year. And then he got hurt, tore his ACL sophomore year, late in sophomore year. Didn't come back until this year, like almost all the way through the season. They were kind of ramping him up. But, man, like, there's a legit NFL skill set that he could be like a wide receiver 1 in the future, depending on how healthy he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's really going to be interesting to see what he runs in the 40. He's not like overly fast, but if he surprised some people and ran, say, like low 4.5s, I think like 4.5 flat would be an excellent time for him. And I think it could get him back in like round 1 conversation.
Yeah, when I read that name, that's when I was like, nah, seems a little low. But at the same time, I do understand, like, he fell off my radar, and I think that's why I had that thought. But I didn't realize that he dealt with so many injuries.
He is like the forgotten man. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. And I think somebody who people are maybe not sleeping on, but putting a little too much on is Justin Ross out of Clemson. I saw a lot of people talking about him in your mentions after you put that out, thinking maybe he was a little low. I do not consider him a top 10 wide receiver as of right now. A year and a half ago, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy that, that neck injury that we didn't really know if he was going to play again after he dealt with that. And I just wasn't overly – I mean, Clemson was a disaster on offense this season. I mean, DJ didn't play well. Their offensive line was so bad that, like, it hurt everything else. And I wasn't really as encouraged by what Ross's tape looked like post-injury. Now, Pickens is kind of dealing with some of the same things. Like, there's limited tape on what he is after that injury, and you hope that he can make a full recovery. But, like, the game that really takes me back to what Pickens could be at the next level is the bowl game against Cincinnati 2 years ago. Of course, Cincinnati has Sauce Gardner, one of the best corners in the nation.
Yeah.
And then Kobe Bryant, the guy that plays across from him, he's like one of my favorite, like, day 2 corners out there, and he played really well against both of those guys. Made a spectacular dive and grab like 50 yards down the field. I mean, he's got wide receiver 1 potential at the next level. It's just about, is he going to be healthy and what kind of athlete he is after the injury.
All right, so when's the next time you update this, you think? When's the next time you feel like we have a new list? Or do you feel pretty solid this is going to hold through?
I mean, there may be people may jump around like a little, like a spot or two, but I don't know that I'll put something out about updating it. Maybe as we get really close to the draft. The combine for me, the way that I look at like testing and stuff, that's the biggest thing. Measurements, testing for guys that we don't have those numbers on, but I don't really let that dictate a ton in my rankings. I feel like I already know what kind of athlete. Now, if there's something, say Pickens, which he's not going to. Like, but say he came out and ran like a 4.4. I would have to go back to his tape and be like, all right, what am I missing? Because I didn't see that at all. And like, there's always a dozen of players or so that'll do something at the combine, like people that'll test like freaks, and I'll be like, well, I thought they were just a solid athlete. I didn't think they were that athletic. And then I got to go back and see like where I missed. But I don't know.
I just picture you in your man cave, flipping through the tape. I mean, like, hon, I need an hour. Okay, this guy just ran a 4.3. I did not see him run a 4.3. This does not happen.
That's what I do, man.
The life and times of Derek Bell. I love it. All right, before we head out here, I want to go through my mock draft because, like I just said 2 minutes ago, I have Christian Watson going in the 4th round of the Steelers. I felt good about it at the time. I don't feel good about it right now. I do feel good about the rest of them. Zion Johnson going 1st round, 20 to the Steelers. I love Zion Johnson. I think he's so slept on in this draft. Sam Howell at round 2, pick 52. Chad Muma coming in on round 3, Christian Watson, round 4, your guy, Jermaine Walker in the 7th round, and then Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech to finish off the draft there. When you hear it, is it realistic? That's my biggest thing, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zion Johnson has a really good shot at being there at 20. And I think I've been on record for saying this for like the last couple months, but like the Steelers can afford to upgrade any spot on the offensive line. Like if you see a guy, you really like him, plug him in there, and you figure you move the pieces that you got right now around what if you're comfortable in a guy. Johnson's, I think, the 2nd best guard in the draft. I still prefer Kenyon Green to him a little bit. I just think that Green's has better movement skills and a better ceiling. But I think Johnson's like he's a guy that's ready to play. I mean, he's a year one starter at guard. And he can be a freaking good player. So I like him a lot.
Sam Howell, round 2. Can he slide to round 2? I don't even care what your thoughts are on Sam Howell.
I do think he can slide. I think he's gonna go round 2. I don't know that he makes it to 52. But I mean, I could see the Steelers. I could 100% see that as a Steelers possibility. Maybe they move up a couple picks in the second round to get him. But yeah, I mean, I'm not thrilled with it. I know the Baker comparisons with Howell seem lazy, but man, there is something to it. I think he's got a little bit better arm. I mean, he does rip it a little bit better than Baker, I think. But I just don't know. I don't see the incredibly high ceiling with Howell. Like I see like baseline starter type of ceiling with him.
All right, Chad Muma, round 3. You would know more than me, to be honest with you. I like Chad Muma.
I like him too. I mean, this inside linebacker class is really interesting. Like guys like Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean, like I like Lloyd. I prefer him to Dean, but like I think both guys would obviously help the Steelers. But I don't know if they could piss off the fan base enough to pick up another inside linebacker that early.
No, I don't think they could.
They're going to go like late first, early second at the very worst. Boom is interesting, man. Like even as like a run defender, I think like him and a guy like Leo Chenal, both guys that could be like day 2 linebackers. Also Darian Bevers from Cincinnati. He's another guy. I think that's how you say his last name, but he's another guy that had a good Senior Bowl. He had a good Senior Bowl, and there's some stuff to like on his tape too. I hadn't watched him really a ton. Like I had watched him live, but I hadn't studied him until the week of the Senior Bowl. So there's a lot of options on day 2 for quality linebackers, and the Steelers need to improve there. I mean, they had the worst linebacking core. Inside linebackers last year. That cannot continue. So,
all right. Does Christian Watson make it to the 4th round? And can Jermaine Walker slide to 7 and be a significant factor on defense?
I'll say no, that Watson doesn't reach there anymore. After the Senior Bowl, where he was quite literally uncoverable. I don't see it, man. I don't. But if there was a round 4 guy that I think could be there, Khalil Shakir from Boise is like a guy that I really, really liked. My guy Jake from Twitter, I can't say his last name. My guy Jake put me onto him like August or September of last year. And the first time I ever watched him play, he made like 2 incredible leaping grabs in the end zone. Not an overly big dude, but he's played outside and inside. He's going to play in the slot at the next level. But he's a guy that reminds me, not like play style wise, but you could get the same type of production. He's a guy who's ready to play, kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown was for the Lions this year. Like he's a guy that's going to go like early day 3. He might slide into day 2, but really good with the football in his hands, man. He's like a freaking running back. He's impossible to bring down. And he's a really good route runner. I thought he really improved at the catch point this year based on the tape that I saw in 2020. So I like him a lot. I think if the Steelers want a guy that can, come in and play early on, but not have to spend premium capital on a slot receiver, he's definitely a guy that I really like for them.
All righty. And then what about Jermaine Walker? What about your boy Jermaine Walker? I will say that when I started digging into cornerbacks in the draft, when I started doing the research for this, I did not expect him to be so low. And people's expectations, especially after talking with you about him. Does he make it to the 7th round?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about the draft. For me, like I always feel like once you get past like day 3 projections, man, everything's just all over the board. I mean, you remember when they picked Loudermilk last year? Like you look at big boards for where Loudermilk was, he was like outside the top 300 for a lot of people. And the Steelers traded basically a 4th round pick for him. So like on day 3, that's when you're getting into, because teams boards, like I've heard Colbert say that like usually they have like 100 guys on their board. And you got to think like after the first 3 rounds, like, probably, at least 50 of those are gone. So you're looking at, what do you still need or what do you still feel like you need positional wise? And then you're looking at scheme. do these guys play special teams? But I think Waller's got upside to be a starting boundary corner in the league. I've also been told that he's going to run in the 4.4s, which at his profile, having that height and length, I definitely think he's a guy that he played some nickel this year for Virginia Tech.
That's where I see him.
He could be a really good player and get on the field early if he's given the opportunity.
There's plenty of opportunity in Pittsburgh. That's what was my thought with them, is he's a guy who could come in here, play some of a Trey Norwood type situation where role starts small, gets bigger as the year goes on. Steelers, I think, need to sign at least one cornerback.
For sure. I'll tell you another guy that jumped off at me in the past couple of weeks. I've pounded the table since like August for Andrew Booth out of Clemson as the top corner in the draft. I absolutely loved it. Love him. I'd probably break down in tears if we got him at 20. But anyway, his teammate, Mario Goodrich, who plays on the other side of him, I've been really impressed with his tape. I recently fell into like all of their games from last season, and I was watching Booth just because that's what I was doing, being dumb and watching the same player over and over again instead of doing more productive things. But Goodrich kept jumping out at me, man. He kept making plays on the ball, and I was like, man, I really like this kid. So he's a day 3 corner that the Steelers could potentially look at too.
Right, I like it. And then running back last round, I don't think. Whatever. What do you know about Jordan Mason? Do you know anything about him?
I actually haven't watched him. I saw his name on your mock draft, and I need to look at him.
He played behind the starter there, Gibbs, Jameer Gibbs.
Gibbs is good from Alabama, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's a good player.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's good enough to head to Bama.
Yeah.
Backup can't be too bad. He left as a junior. Somewhat of an Anthony McFarland type vibe. I just think the Steelers need help, and by the end of this draft, they're going to be freaking out in a couple of ways.
Yeah, I think
it's the first go.
There's a couple day 3 backs that I really like. Being biased, Mateo Durant. Obviously, I'm a Duke fan, but Mateo Durant is a guy that was like basically carrying a lifeless Duke offense the last couple of years.
Are you a Duke football fan?
I'm really not. I do keep up with them though. But
who do you watch the most in college football? Who do you root for the most in college football?
I don't. I have grown in a really strong appreciation for Bama, but I wouldn't consider myself a Bama fan.
Oh, but I mean, dude, if you were a Duke and a Bama fan,
he would hate me. I could do.
I would hate you. I would have a really hard time liking you. Yeah. I would just, if we're gonna be honest.
I will say like a couple, like Mateo Durant's like a really late, like 6th, 7th round guy that I think could get drafted, that could give you something as like a RB3. Probably my favorite fit behind Najee is his old teammate Brian Robinson. I think you'll have to grab him in like round 4. Mm-hmm. But like I would if the Steelers would get out of this just archaic way of like running their backs into the ground. You could put Brian Robinson on the field every 3rd series. You could still leave Najee as the 3rd down back. And you're really going to have a quality backup running back who can actually make plays for himself. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I know Pro Football Focus. I hate their grades, but like some of their stats are pretty good. Robinson forced 79 missed tackles last season as a running back, which was like top 8 or something like that in the country. I mean, this a dude that knows how to use his body and like make guys miss, run people over. And as a running back too, like a guy that can give Najee a breather to where he doesn't have to play 85% of the snaps. That's really valuable, like really, really valuable. So
yeah, Robinson was a guy I talked to at the Senior Bowl, and he seemed real open to it, to be honest. Because I went right for it. Like, yo, Najee, how do you guys mix in the backfield? He said, very well. When you were behind him, how did you play? He's like, we understood the roles. We are open with that. And he said that it's in today's game, you need 2 running backs. You can't play a whole game as one. And I was like, yeah, it is what it is. Then some dude from Sirius XM Radio butted right in, middle of my interview, and goes, hey, man, can you say blah, 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 blah? This is Brian Robinson. You're listening to blah, 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 blah. And the dude, Brian is like, looked at me, and he's like, what do I say? And then he said it, and then the guy just stared at him. And 30 seconds. I have it on video. I'll show everybody at some point.
I can't do it.
I can't do it, dude. It was rough. It was at that moment, I was a little ticked off, but it is what it is. All right, I feel good about it. I do like Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson, in my opinion, right now is the top option for the Pittsburgh Steelers to add on at running back. But I do not believe that they're going to go for one that early in the draft. That's just my thought on it. I think running back's just in a conversation at this point until we get a little closer, see how I would say free agency plays a major role in how the Steelers approach running back in the NFL draft. All right, it's time for Derek to go get some sleep before he starts his weekend here. It's time for me. I'm headed to Penn State, actually. I'm going to stay in some mansion. Me and my girlfriend are going to stay in some Rennan's mansion. So if anybody wants to come and hang out, I'll be in Rennan's mansion or something. I don't know what it is, but like every room has like history to it. And like it was like a speakeasy where I'm staying or something.
That's fire.
Yes. Super interesting, super old, middle of nowhere. Like you type in like what's to do in Belafonte and like a Domino's comes up. And you're like, cool. Sounds good. That's how you know you got nothing going on. So I'm excited about it. We'll be back next week to talk more NFL Combine, more NFL Draft. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video on YouTube, and continue to use our promo code for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back.